This conference will now be.
So today we're gonna talk about W3 actions. If you remember, touch actions was deprecated in the latest versions of Appium, right? So the main intention for introducing touch actions to you is these W3 actions are too complex and they were recently introduced into Appium. So they were not widely used, whereas touch actions are widely used in many projects out there. So whenever you get a new project and you there are high probability that you will see touch actions in the projects that are already implemented. But it's always important to get up to date with the APM as well. We have seen many changes. Instead of mobile by, we have used APM by, right? So that's one of the changes with the latest versions of APM. And the second important function is touch actions have been deprecated. Instead of touch actions, they introduced W3 actions. So using W3 actions, how to actually do those advanced gestures is what we are going to see today. And the second important thing that we will talk about today is automating hybrid apps. We know how to actually automate a native app, and we also have seen how to actually automate a web app. Today, we will see how to actually automate a hybrid app. On the other day, I shown you, right, like what is basically a hybrid app means. Hybrid app is nothing but there will be a link uh, on the native app through which using which we can redirect to the Chrome browser. And on Chrome browser, we should be able to actually do some operations on the Chrome browser. Again, back to native app, we could do some operations on the native app. So switching, we could switch from native app to web app. So hybrid app is like just a mix of both of the things. So it needs an interaction with the web app as well as an interaction with the native app to complete something of a purpose. Okay, so we will see what is basically hybrid app is, how it looks like, and how to actually switch your control from the native app to the web app. So we will discuss that part today. So that is second important thing. And the third important thing is we are going to see some important ADB commands. Okay, so it is very frequent that they will ask you to talk about some ADB commands in the interviews. So we will also talk about some ADB commands and we will see how to actually achieve them. Okay, let's go one by one, and let's finish these three things today. And if time permits, I have the Mac setup ready too, so I'll also demonstrate how to actually launch a simulator. And then on an outer note, if we are done with this session, we will just have only one session where we will talk about iOS simulators and connecting to the iOS simulator using what I mean to say, using inspector. Okay, and like ADB devices, Android debug devices, that itself says, right? So it is something which is specific to Android, so you cannot execute ADB devices and all. But how to actually get the universal device ID for a simulator, how to get the other parameters, like for instead of app package and app activity, we will have the bundle IDs over there. So how to actually get the bundle IDs for a particular app and all, we will see on the iOS side. Okay, uh, let's switch back to where we are yesterday. uh, so let's go back here. We were actually talking about real mobile apps, right? So we are here, we spoke about what is basically how to actually configure things on real mobile device, how to use app package name and activity name. And there is one thing I was like saying, like we have a command to actually get the package name and activity name. That is something which will be covered in the ADB commands that we are going to discuss today. And I want you to observe one important thing, that is app package and app activity. Have you observed that they were under Android mobile capability type, which says like these are specific to app package and app activity. Okay, they were not like no, they're not at all relevant to iOS devices. They were specific to Android apps. So they were placed under Android mobile capability types. Okay, so instead of app package and app activity, should we should have some identifiers for the iOS apps, right? So we call that as bundle ID, and how to get that bundle ID and all the things we will shortly see. I mean, we will see them in the iOS part. All right. So next important thing which I want to um, show you right away is, let's switch back to some older versions of Appium, and we will I just want to show you something. So let's quickly change our Appium version to something else, and I just want to show you one change. I mean one recent feature that is introduced into Appium. mm, is I just want to switch back to some older versions of Appium, and I would like to see. And also, so here you will get all the details. Knowing about this documentation is also important. So this is where
Hello.
you will.
We cannot see your screen actually.
Oh, sorry,
Yes,
sorry,
sir.
sorry. This is very bad. Think we spoke a lot.
So have you started the recording?
Yeah, I started the recording. Uh, I was just talking about this. You look at this. I thought like I was sharing. So app package and app activity is what I'm talking about. They are under Android mobile capability type, right? They are specifically placed under Android mobile capability type because they are specific to only Android devices. So if that is common to both iOS and Android, they might have placed under mobile capability type. Okay, so as these are specific to Android, they placed under Android mobile capability type. So that's the catch we are talking about now. An important thing is these are the identifiers for a particular app in the Android mobile device. Similarly, we should have a different identifier for the iOS apps, right? So that's gonna change in the iOS too. So we call that as bundle ID, and we will also see how to actually get that bundle ID from in the iOS apps. Okay, uh, that was something I was talking about. And instead of that, we also have we spoke about the upgrade in touch actions. Touch actions is deprecated in the latest versions of Appium, right? But still we studied for a purpose, and we completed that. Now it's time to understand how to actually implement the same functionality using W3 actions. I'll actually demonstrate that. Before that, I also want to show you an important update in the latest versions of Appium. Okay, that is, just a second. Let me switch back to some older versions of Appium right now, so that I could actually demonstrate that. And I was talking about this documentation. Here is where you could find everything that you want to actually know about Appium. So this is the official documentation. So here is where you could find everything that is related to Appium. So you have find elements, actions, attributes, and all the things. So if you go to the find element, you could actually see the stuffs that are available. So let me just copy this mobile element one. I'm copying this and pasting it over here. So the thing is, if you hover this, just a second. Look at this. You are not able to actually find out anything like mobile element, but that is actually placed in the official documentation of uh, under driver. Right now you just have only driver dot find element and find elements, but there is something like driver dot find element by accessibility ID, but you were not able to actually see all of them. Let's change this to Android driver. Can you change that to Android driver? still you're not able to actually find out this mobile element, right? Now what we're gonna do now is we will just change this Appium version to older versions of Appium. Okay, so let me switch back to, so I'm switching back to Maven repository and I'm just typing Appium. So I'll go back to somewhere like 7.5.1. Okay, so let me make it as 7.5.1. Control S. Come back here, Control S. Now you see there is something called as, there is an import that is available that you could see. Okay, earlier we do have this mobile element as well. Okay, it supports both mobile element as well as web elements, but in the latest versions of Appium they removed mobile elements and they made everything as web elements. Okay, so this is one change that I would like to introduce to you. So when you switch back to the latest versions of now, you don't have any errors, right? You have some error with the implicit weight because implicit weight was something like it is expecting two parameters in the earlier versions of Appium, but in the latest versions of Appium it is just expecting duration of seconds. This is purely related to Selenium. We already have seen this too. Implicit weight is not a big deal for us. The only thing that you have to aware over here is the mobile element which was present in the older versions of Appium was removed in the latest versions of Appium. So you no more gonna use, I mean, you cannot use mobile elements anywhere to actually reference uh, a particular element returned by the find element. Okay, even it has driver dot find element by accessibility ID, it's a default method is there, but those are all removed. Okay, under driver you have so many things that are available, but in the latest versions of Appium you just have only find element and find elements. You these are all redundant because even find element by passing a parameter will do the same thing, whereas the complete name itself will do the same thing. So this could be one of the questions I just want to address in this session. So mobile element is no more there. You cannot go ahead and use mobile element, so everything would be a web element. Okay, so that is one thing, and second thing is under driver you just have only two methods. One is find element and the other one is find elements. You don't have this find element by accessibility ID and all this stuff in the latest versions of Appium. And you are pretty sure about accessibility ID and what it is, so I don't want to actually talk about them. So I'll replace with the latest version and I'll go back with W3 actions. So now this is no more gonna work for us because this is something which got deleted in the latest versions of Appium. Now we're all set, right? So there is still some error. Where is that? Okay. So Control Shift O will delete all the unnecessary imports. Now we are good. So these are some of the changes that is actually uh, got implemented in the latest versions of Appium. So we don't have mobile by, instead of that we got Appium by. We don't have mobile elements, instead of that it's centralized as web elements all across the Appium. Okay, and here is the documentation which you have to be aware of, and you could see everything that is available with Appium. And if you have any queries you could just go here and know about more uh, on that. Okay, so these are different things, and you would be able to actually get more information from this document because it's really tough to complete to cover everything in this tutorial. So I'm just attaching base link as well, so you could use this as a reference. Now let's talk about W3 actions and let's see how to actually implement them. Before that, I just want to show you a few things. One is identification of an element. So this is my emulator. I got my server up and running. I got my server up and running, uh, and I also have my emulator launched. And where is my inspector? Let me actually launch the inspector. And this concept is something which is very important to understand, uh, and this helps a lot in when you are actually implementing W3 actions. Okay, so I'm actually using these capabilities and I'm starting a session now. Okay, so let's carefully observe now. We need to get the coordinates of, I mean, how the x and y varies in a for a particular element. Okay, so you all know what is an x coordinate and what is a y coordinate for a particular object. Let's suppose I have an element like this. Okay, this is my element. Inside that I have some particular text. The text could be anything. Let's say it is accessibility. Okay, I have this particular object. I identified this object using driver dot find element or something. I identified using driver dot find element, and and this is pointing to this particular object. Now you know what is an x-axis and what is y-axis, right? X-axis is, this is the x-axis, correct? So this is going to be the x-axis, right? This is going to be the y-axis, and this is the height of this object. What is the height? This is the height of the object, and this is the width of the object. Okay, so when you move the cursor from this point to this point, what is going to change? X is going to change, y remains constant on this particular line, right? And when you move in this direction, x remains the same but y changes. When you move up, y increases. When you move down, y decreases. When you're going in this direction, y increases. When you're going in this direction, y decreases. Similarly, when you're going in this direction, x increases, and when you're going in this direction, x decreases. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Why we are talking about this is, when you're doing something with W3 actions, we use the element and use the coordinates of that element. So even if the device changes, we are identifying the element using the element coordinates. We are actually dragging or moving that or swiping that. That's what we are doing. So even when we use coordinates, they are based on the elements, and for every device and for every element, these coordinates are like dynamic, because we are getting the coordinates from the element. And when you are swiping the element from this position to this position, it is always important to point to hold it at the center. It's not an ideal case to hold over here and drag it over here, because this is not actually the exact, this is not an trustable point, right? This may have control or may not have control, but the center of the object will always have a control. So that's the reason we always target to point or focus on this particular point. So to get the axis of this, how do we actually get the x of this? So this x is nothing but the starting. Let's say this is x and y point. Okay, this is x and y. When I add x plus width by 2, x plus width by 2, does this means this is that this act, do you think like this refers to this point in terms of x? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Because this is the initial point x plus this is the whole width from here to here, it is width by 2 is gives the center. So x plus width by 2 is this point. Okay, similarly y plus height by 2. Okay, so y plus actually we will actually target this point. This would be the starting point. Instead of this, we will take this x plus width by 2, y plus height by 2. So that actually points this particular thing. That becomes y plus height by 2. Okay, it could be reverse order, it could be this point or this point, whatever it is. We will take that height by 2 and width by 2 will exactly gives the center of that point. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Clear for everyone, right? Because this is the whole concept that we're going to use with W3 actions. If you're clear with this, that's as easy as touch actions. Anyone needs another round of explanation? Or
Yes, sir, that would be fine.
are we good to go?
Yes, sir. Can we have a
Okay,
one more time?
all right. Uh, so this is my yeah, what I mean to say. This is my object. Okay, and the name of the object is what is that? Let's say fx solutions. This is my object on my web element. Okay, this should be fine. So this is actually my object on my web page. Let's suppose this is a button or any kind of thing you could element. This is basically a web element. I'll call this as a web element. This is my web element. Okay, and now the important thing is when you want to, let's say this is my source and this is gonna be my destination. I want to drag this button from source to destination. Okay, so when I want to drag this button from source to destination, I need to click on it, hold it, move here and release it. That's what we have done, right? So when I want to hold on this particular object, what is the ideal place that is very good position to hold? Do you think that position is let me pinpoint few options and you tell me like what is the best place to actually hold that button to move to the destination. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, out of all these points, which is what do you think as an ideal place to actually drag and drop? Let me also number them so you will get it.
9.
9.
So this is the point, right? So this would be the most ideal point to actually drag and drop. Agree?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
And what is the ideal point in the here in the destination to actually drop or leave this object? Again, let me put some flags. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What do you think is the best place?
10.
10.
10, right? So this is the best place to drop. Agreed?
Yes, sir.
Now we have to find out the coordinates of these 2 points. Now our target is to get the coordinates of these 2 points somehow. And to find out these coordinates, I know few parameters. Using that, I have to find this. The few parameters that I'm aware of is this. I know this as the height of the object. I know the height of the object. So this is the height. Okay, I'll call this as h. And I know the width of the object too. This I'll call as the width of the object. Okay. Similarly, for this destination as well, I have width w1 and I have height h1. Okay. I know the height and width, and I also know this point. I know the coordinates of this point. I'll call this as x comma y. And I know the coordinates of this point too. I call this as x1 comma y1. Okay. Now it's your turn to tell me what is the coordinates of this point. Okay. So I'll calculate it this way. Uh, it's as simple as this. So now from here I have to go here. How do I move? The whole target of me is to move to this point. Now I'm here. I want to move to this point. So what's the distance I have to move? On the x, I have to move half of the distance of w, right? So whole thing is w, and I have to move w by 2 distance on x axis. Correct? Agreed?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
So can I call this as x plus w by 2? Because this is x. This point is x, and I moved w by 2 distance on x axis. That
Yes.
means this point will become x plus w by 2. It's as simple as this. So this is 0, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and my width is 4. Now I just have to walk half of the distance, means I just have to move 2 points on x axis. That becomes, now here the x becomes 2, right?
Hmm. Yes, sir.
Clear?
Understand. Yes.
Now I'm here, I have to move here. So do I need to change x anymore? So when I move in this direction, do I need to change x? X is same here and here, right? So there won't be any change in x from this point to this point, because here in this direction only y changes, not the x, because this is y 1 2. So on all these points y will be the same, only I mean x will be the same, y only changes. So when I move in this direction, x remains the same, x will be 2, but y will also be 2. Here y will be 0, here y will be 2. Okay,
Yes, sir.
got it? So y in the
Yes,
sense,
yes.
it is just exactly h by 2, right? Because the whole
Yes.
height is h. Now I just want to move only half of the distance, which is h by 2. So h becomes now, what will be the h by 2 becomes? I mean, it is h by 2 distance, and here we are at y, so it becomes y plus
Why,
h
sir?
by 2. Correct?
Yeah, yes, sir.
The same applies for here as well. Here it just becomes x1 plus w1 by 2 comma y1 plus h1 by 2. So this is the destination point to which I have to move, and this is the source point. So from this source point to this destination point, I need to perform some actions.
Yes, sir. Clear.
Clear,
I
right?
have a
This
question. It's for
what
the
we are
positive. It's for the positive direction, right? What about the negative direction? Negative x and negative y. It should be x minus w by 2 and y minus h by 2. Hello?
again. It all comes as um, so. I'll do it this way. So there is a case you will encounter that for sure. Maybe not every time. In that case, what you have to see is, just give me a second. Just by the way, that's a good question which I might have covered, might not have missed. So let's suppose you develop the script with this perspective. Okay, and now, but the script is, or the action is not in the intended way. Let's suppose, let me take this example. I want to drag the object from this point to this point. Okay, this is my destination. But when you took everything as positive, your object will not be dragged to this point, instead it will be dragged to this point, right? Am I clear? So you have to use negative coordinates, but you used positive coordinates. In that case you used wrong coordinates, then the movement will be in the opposite direction, right? Not in the intended direction. Correct? Are you getting me?
Yeah, but what will be the coordinates here?
I'll tell you.
Same.
So yeah, in that case when you see the action differently on the UI, then you have to switch the coordinates. It's just a trial and error method. Initially we cannot predict, like we will go with the everything as positive cases, but in some cases it may go in the negative direction. Then you have to reverse the directions of x and y. Most probably y, if it is in vertical space, if it is in a horizontal space, you need to revert the x. Are you getting me?
Can you give an example? It's not making sense actually.
uh, I mean, it's as simple as this. Let me just repeat this, maybe you will get this now. So now I figured out, like this is my source and this is my destination, and I predicted everything as positive coordinates. Okay, I thought like this is my starting points, which the script returned, and from here I moved in the positive directions. Okay, now this is my source point and this is the destination point with the positive coordinates. When I developed the script and ran the script, the expectation is this object has to come and get dropped over here, but instead of coming over here it is moving in this direction, which means like it is not traveling in the direction which you are intended to. It is moving in a different direction. That means you have to reverse the coordinate system. Okay, reverse. When you put negative, this is positive and this is negative. When you make this as a negative, it becomes positive and it moves in this direction. Just negative and positive will actually move the direction from one space to the other space. Just give me a second. uh, Sorry about that. So this is what all I want to convey to you. Like when you want to reverse the direction or the reverse the movement, you just have to uh, change the coordinates to positive and negative. It is just a trial and error. Once you fix that, it will be the same all the time.
You mean it will be x minus w by 2 and x minus h by 2? How will
No, no,
be?
no. It's the negative for the whole point. 5, let's suppose y plus h by 2, it would be the negative for whole thing. So it's as simple as this. Like here this is positive positive and this would be the origin and this becomes negative and negative, right?
Right.
It's same
Yes.
same thing. So if it is x positive and positive over here, it becomes negative and negative over here. Now instead of moving over here, you want to move it over here, so you need to make both of them as negative.
Okay. Okay. Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. Now we are going to use these concepts and we will move ahead and develop the reusability for this one. What's that called as using W3 actions? We are gonna do this stuff. Okay. Let me create a new class and let me call it as w3 actions and public static void main. So as I told you, it's a replacement for touch actions, right? So this is touch actions is replicated. Instead of touch actions, they introduced a w3 actions. So now we're gonna talk about w3 actions. Uh, it's just a second. Yeah, sorry. So now let's start invoking the driver. So let's get the code from. So to keep it short, W3 actions is the latest versions of touch actions. Touch actions are deprecated. Now let's take the same flow to actually automate that particular step. So let's go to advanced gestures. So let's take the required code. So this will invoke the app. You know that. So I'm copying this particular code and pasting it over here. Okay. This invokes the app for me. And what's next? The next would be we have to click on view button on this particular thing. So I'm clicking on view button. After view, after clicking on view button, um, I have to go to date widgets and inline. There we have seen a swipe action, right? So let's just implement swipe action because drag and drop is on similar lines of swipe action. There is no change at all if you actually talk about them. So we also need this method. Click on text view, get that method as well. Click on text view. So this is the method that we are interested in. So this is all we already have done, and we know what is this reusable component, what it will do, and all this stuff. So, but the only thing now that is needed is we need a global variable for the driver so that it can be used across all the methods. So I'm copying this, pasting it over here. Now we're good with the initial setup, and we will reach to that particular screen. Right, on date widget inline we will reach to that screen, and on that screen we just have to move it from source to destination. Let's quickly check whether this is working perfectly or not so that we can move forward with the next steps. So I'm running it as Java application. So we are on the right screen now. What we have to do, we got two things over here. This is our source and this is our destination, right? On the source we have to find the middle point. So we are finding out 12 as our source. In that source we have to find the middle point. That's all what we have to do. If you go back to the inspector and if you relaunch this and see the x and y coordinates of that, you could actually figure this out. So I'm starting this session and I just want to go to that inlines. So go to views, date widgets, inline, and this is the screen which I'm actually interested. So to actually get the coordinates, there is an option over here, swipe coordinates. If you select this and if you come over anything, you could actually see how the x and y are changing. Just look at that. If I'm moving in the vertical direction, the y is changing, but when I move in the horizontal direction, the x is changing and y is remaining constant. So if I move to the corner of this particular screen, the starting point of the screen is x0 y0, and when I move to this particular end, the x is more, y is less. Okay, when I move to this particular point, the y is more, x is less. So where is the origin for us? Origin is here for us. 0 0 is starting over here, and here for this particular object, just carefully observe the x-axis. X is less over here and x is more over here. It means x is high low at this end and x is more at this end. Are you observing that?
Yes.
So the origin of the screen would be the topmost. Here would be the origin, and in this direction x will increase, y remains very less, and in this direction y increases and x will remains a constant. And when you move in the diagonal axis, you will have the x constantly increasing and y constantly increasing. So to review that again, so this is our mobile screen. Here is x and y origin. 0 0 stands over here. When you move in this direction, x increases and y remains constant. When you move in this direction, y increases and x remains constant. And your source object is here, right? So it means like at this point, x and y will be less than when compared to the x and y at this point. So when you get the x and y from here, so when you move in this direction, you will actually increase x and y. So it's same like the what we have discussed. This becomes height, this becomes width, x plus width by 2, y plus width by 2. In the other case, if x and y would be 0 over here, if x and for some apps, if x and y coordinate system starts 0 0 over here, so it would be opposite. Then you have to reverse the direction of the coordinate system, then you will move in the intended directions. So here is a good understanding for you to actually predict how it is actually changing. Now the whole point is I have to get the middle point of this 12. How do I do with this particular uh, you know uh, with this particular w3 actions is, so what is the first thing that we need to do is we have to get the starting point and ending point. The web elements for starting point and ending point is what we have to do. Okay, so go to this particular step and currently selected and clock harsh destination. These are our source and destinations, right? So this is the source, which is 12, and this is the destination to which we want to actually move the objects to. So copy the source and destination, go to w3 actions and paste it over here. Now we got our source and destination ready with us. Okay, just change the destination. Here is a variable which decides the destination object. When we pass it as 9, the destination becomes 9. When we pass it as 4, the destination becomes 4, something like that, right? So I'm actually removing this is equal to and 9. Okay, save this. Now we got our source and destinations ready with us. The next important thing for us is get the coordinate system, and here is where we will apply the logic that what we have learned just now. It is very simple to actually understand. I'll take two integers, okay, for the starting point or the source middle point. I would say I will say start x is equal to, so it's very important to understand clearly. Just try to understand it very precisely. So now we have 12 over here and we have 3 over here. This is my 12 and this is my 3, and I'll call this point as start x comma start y, start x comma start y, and I'll call this point as end x comma end y. Our whole purpose now is to find out these 2 points and use these points to drag the objects from that point to this point. Okay. Now I'm actually concentrating on start x and start y. Start x is related to the source. The source in this case is currently selected. Okay. We know how we actually derived this currently selected, and that is not, I'm gonna repeat again. So this is our source point. This is currently selected. Clock hour's destination is our destination point. This is currently selected point, and this is clock hour's destination point. This is clock hour's destination. So I need to use this object to find start x and start y. That is the whole thing that I would like to talk about. Dot. There is a method called as get rectangle, which gets us the location and size of the rendered element will be returned by get rectangle. It returns the location and size of the rendered element. What is the element? The element is currently selected. So dot get rectangle dot. There is something called as x. Okay, x will give the starting point of that particular rectangle, plus what we need to add to this, we need to add width by 2 for x, right? Correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Are you guys
Yes.
able to follow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes.
So now I'm using again currently selected dot. There is another method called as get size, which gives us width and height. Okay, dot width by 2 is what I have to do to find out the middle point. So this becomes my x. Okay, this is what we have discussed twice in our just now. So now we need start y. Start y would be currently selected dot get rectangle dot y, which gives the initial point, plus currently selected dot get size, which gives the size of that rendered element. Sorry, get size dot height by 2. Here, are we good till this
Yes.
point?
Yes.
This
Good.
completed
Yes,
our
sir.
start x and start y points, getting our start x and start y points. Now we have to get end x and y, right? What is the only change with end x and end y? Only the object changes. So with the calculation of x and y will not change, because that would be same for every object. So end x and end y. And for end x and end y, what is our object? Our object is clock hour's destination.
Broadcast.
Paste it over here, paste it over here, paste it over here, and paste it over here. Now we got these 2 points. We have got these 2 points. Now we need to use these points and construct a method to actually drag and drop the object from this destination to this destination, or swipe and drag and drop both looks similar on Android. Okay, and then this is where we actually implement the actual code of it. Okay, it starts with pointer input. There is a class as pointer input. This is what which actually covers this particular point. Let's call this as pointer input object is equal to, it's just like touch actions, it's an another class being provided, new pointer input. To this is the overridden method. We need to pass two parameters. One is kind and the other one is name. We just need to understand what is kind and what is name. So the first parameter that we have to pass is kind, right? So there is something called as pointer input dot kind dot. So if you see under kind, we have mouse, pen, and touch. So we will be touching it, right? So mouse, pen, and touch are different kinds of interactions. Okay. So how does the mobile behaves when you do with, when you do that with pen, when you do that with mouse, and when you do that with touch? Okay, that's the different kinds of interactions that we do on mobile devices. So we will use touch, and this is the name, this is just the name of this interaction. I'll say touch interaction, it could be any name. So this would be the starting point of our W3 actions. You need to create an instance for pointer input. So once this is created, there is a class called a sequence, which will be used to create sequence of actions, and those will be performed at later point of time. Okay. So it's like build and perform. We have seen build and perform. So build is to create sequence of actions, and perform is to perform the sequence of actions. The same thing we are going to do with sequence as well. We will add multiple sequences, and we will perform all the sequences at one go once everything is constructed. So that is all what we are going to do now. Uh, so the first thing is, when you type sequence, you got two things. One is javax.sound.mida. That's not our interest. Our interest is sequence from Selenium. Okay. So this is our interest because it's all related to automation and Selenium Appium. So that's nowhere relevant to you. So don't use that. So if you use that, you will not see the relevant methods related to the interactions of these elements. That's the only thing. So you have to use the sequence from org.openqa.selenium.interactions. So use that class, create an instance for that particular class. We'll call this as swipe sequence is equal to new sequence. Okay. This sequence is again from what is that? Selenium interactions. So when you the first thing that you have to pass to it is pointer input object. This has to be passed to that, and the next parameter would be 1. That's like how many pixels you want to actually move ahead with. So it could be 0 as well, no issues, or 1 pixel at a time. That's how it actually goes at. And then there is a method on this swipe sequence. In this particular class, there is a method called as add sequence. Here is where we add different sequences. Okay. Sorry, it's add action. So add action is something where we will add different actions, and we will perform all those actions at the end. So the first action that we want to do is, we have to actually, I mean, uh, we have to, how do we actually drag and drop something? So we have to hold on that object. I mean, we move, initially we move our finger. Let's suppose this is the finger move or touch move. Okay. So we will move our finger to that particular object, and then wait for a second, hold it, and then move to the destination and remove and release your finger over there. That's what you will do, right? So how do one does that? So let's suppose, let me go there, views, date widget, inline. So how I'm gonna do, initially this is my mobile, I'm moving my finger onto 12, I moved, and then I'm actually moving it to the destination, and I'm releasing it. This is what I'm doing it, right? So that's what we're going to construct now. Initially, using this pointer input object, which is using the touch actions on this particular, sorry, this is not swipe action. We need to use this object, which is pointer input object dot. On this, create pointer down. Pointer is your touch now, which is your finger. Create pointer down. Okay. So where you have to down your pointer,
To the index symbol.
first we have to move, right? We have to point your, I mean, you have to move your finger to that particular destination. So after moving it, you have to down that, and then you have to move it to a different place, and then you have to up your finger, right? So here is my mobile. I have to move my finger first to the destination. So I have to move to this point, and then I have to down, and then move to the destination, and then release it. So first I am moving my pointer to the desired location. Okay, it's just like controlling, moving the control from somewhere to the location which is desired for us to actually control. So that's the whole point. So the first step would be create pointer move. We have to move the pointer to the source. So here you have to give the duration is the first parameter it is expecting. So there is no wait needed when we are actually moving to it. So I'll say 0. We doesn't need to actually wait for any time. And the second would be, so create pointer move. There is an overridden method, like, so this says the second parameter would be viewport. Okay, what does viewport means? A viewport is a term that is commonly used in web development and mobile app development to refer to the visible area of a web page or a app on the device screen. So viewport actually refers to the active screen of the mobile or the web page. That is basically what viewport is. So now create pointer move and viewport. The second parameter that we pass is viewport. The syntax for this would be pointer input dot horizon dot viewport. Okay, this just means like just move your pointer to the active screen. Okay, this just mentions active screen which is actually currently active on the mobile screen. And the next two parameters would be start x and start y. Okay, those next two parameters would be start x and start y. This is like little complex to really memorize and do this stuff, but you should find out a way to actually get this. So the first action we do is we are moving your finger to the source. That source is basically mentioned as viewport, which is active screen on the mobile device, and the coordinates where you want to move is start x comma start y. Okay, that's the first step. And the second step would be pointer down. You have to move your finger down onto the screen. And the third step would be moving it to the destination, and then you have to move your finger up. That's what we are going to do now. Swipe sequence action dot add action, and now you moved your pointer, you moved your finger to the source. Now you have to down your finger onto the object, right? So for that there is something called as pointer object dot create finger pointer down. I'll say it as 0, and then we pointed down onto the particular object. Okay, so we pointed down. Now we got a finger down onto the device. Now we have to move the object from, we have to move to the destination location. Now instead of this it becomes Shift and Control C, Control V. Instead of start and x where we want to move, now we want to move that to destination x and destination y. Control x and Control y. And I just want to wait for few milliseconds once I moved my finger um, onto the source object. I just don't want to immediately do that. I just want to wait for less than 1 second. Let's say 700 milliseconds is what I want to wait for, 0.7 seconds. So this is all what I'm doing. I'm moving my mouse now onto the source, and I'm putting my finger on the source. I'm waiting for very minute time which is in milliseconds, and then I'm moving it to the destination. That is what I'm doing it now. So here is where I moved my pointer onto the source, and then I pressed that particular key. I kept my finger on the um, source, and then I'm moving it to the destination now after a wait of 700 milliseconds. And at the destination what I want to do, I want to actually move up my finger. right? So add action pointer object input, it's pointer input object, right? Put copy from here and paste it here. Pointer input object dot create pointer down, say 0, some random number. So with this we are good with actually completed a sequence of actions that we want to do. If you want to perform these sequence of actions, there is a method on driver called as driver.perform, and this should be passed as an arrays dot as list, and swipe actions to be passed to this. So this is the sequence syntax to actually perform the sequence of actions in this W3 actions. Okay, so now we got our complete flow ready with us, and we'll just execute this and see how this actually runs. Right click, run as Java application, and go back to your mobile device, and you could see the output actually. So it's as simple as self-explanatory, but you just need to remember the classes that we are just using. So it thrown me an error. What's the error? Exception while reading JSON.
The end
What's that?
end values are different. It's same end x and end y.
Okay, that should not be a problem. So just try to run this again. Is Appium on and running? This is creator point. This is up, right? This is not down. This is up. So we need to move our finger up. Okay, so now it is working fine. So it moved our destination as 9. So if you want to move it to a different point, the only thing that you have to do is just replace this with the destination. So it identifies the destination object, and you could actually run that. So run as Java application. So you could go over here and okay, it moved to 5. It's all about that. So the same thing for drag and drop as well. So get that object, source object, destination object, find out start x and start y, which would be the middle points of that particular object, end x and ny, and then use the pointer input object to create the type of the kind of operation that you want to do on the mobile device, whether it is with pen, touch, or mouse. And once that is specified, you would actually use swipe actions. Okay, then you have to create an object for sequence. On the sequence class, in the sequence class we have add action as a method. So you have to create multiple actions, and the multiple actions here is create pointer move. So you're moving your pointer, which is of kind touch, to the source now, and then you're moving your pointer down, you're touching down your starting object, and then you're moving your pointer to the destination, which is indicated by index and ny, and pointer up, you are moving your pointer up. This viewport is like the active screen of the mobile device, and I want to do the move operation after a time of 700 milliseconds. I just immediately don't want to do it. I just want to do it after 700 milliseconds, so that that would be more effective. So this is all about actually using W3 actions in place of touch actions. So touch actions is deprecated, but still you are open to use it. There is no harm in using it, but if you struck with something, there won't be any support from the Appium. That's the only drawback. But this is more kind of common thing when compared to that, whereas touch actions needs so many inner classes are being called. When you see touch actions, inside touch actions we have options, long press options, and then with element options, we have so many classes being created, and they were like stacked one after the other. So this is like single class which is actually creating multiple actions one after the other. It's just involving two classes, not pretty much more than that. Okay. And I hope you also understood why this coordinate system will not create any problem, because we are deriving this coordinate system from the web elements itself. We are not statically declaring any values to the start x and start y. We are deriving these values from the web element that we have identified. That's an important thing. So even if in another case, let's suppose you developed on a bigger mobile screen. Okay, you developed your scripts on a bigger mobile screen. uh, Let me just try to elaborate this so you get some idea. So let's suppose you're developing your scripts on a bigger mobile device, and in this bigger mobile device you're trying to get the x and y for this object. So you're identifying this object, and you're just asking the Appium to calculate x and y of this. It calculates x and y based on the screen size. Okay, if this takes 0 comma 0, and based on that it actually calculates the x and y and it gives back to you. When you actually move to the smaller screens and you're trying to identify that object, again this point x and y will be calculated based on this coordinate system automatically. So that's the reason it doesn't matter whether you are on developing on a big screen, but you could still reuse on the uh, smaller screen. But if you're not deriving that from the web element, if you're making it as static like 100 comma 60, if you're making this as a constant value, then what happens is, if you are using 160 on this particular point on this particular device, it won't work. 160 on a bigger screen may be this point, but 160 on a smaller device would be this point when you make this as static things. But here you are calculating these values dynamically from the web element, so it doesn't actually create any problem for executions or regressions. Is that clear?
Yes. So it doesn't matter whether it's moving in a clockwise or anti-clockwise.
No, it doesn't really matter, because it's just you cannot control that. We cannot actually do that
Okay.
in a particular
Yes.
direction.
Okay. Got it, sir.
So this is all about, I mean, the same thing could be actually used for drag and drop as well. Those are the two actions that we have actually discussed in long press. Long press, you don't need the second end x and end y. You just want your mouse down for some time and then mouse up, release after some time. That's all what you have to do. So these are the four things that will cover everything. So you just need to mouse down for some time and then release up for some time. Okay, this is all about W3 actions. And now I'm going to talk about hybrid apps automation. Okay, when I say hybrid apps automation, we are simply doing this stuff. We will go to messages, we will launch this, and then what we're going to do is, after launching this messages app, we will try to expand this, click on help and feedback, and then we will again click on this. We will go to privacy policy, and now it redirected to mobile app, but our control is still on native app. So we will switch our control from mobile app to this web app, and we will get this text out of this mobile web app. Okay, that's all what we're gonna do now. So that's how we are switching our control from native app to mobile app. You remember Windows handling, I believe, right? In Windows handling, what we do, we when we get multiple windows, we will switch the control from one window to other window using driver.switch to handle window handle, right? Window handle is nothing but set of strings that will be written by get window handles. Have you remembered them?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So the same concept applies over here. It's just like we have two different kinds of windows, but here we have two different kinds of apps altogether. One is native app and the other one is web app. We will switch the control from the native app to the web app. That's all what we're gonna do now. So on the same lines, I'll also I would like to actually explain this stuff to you, how to get the package name and activity name of a particular app using the command. Okay, so you have to keep your app which you want to, for which you want to find the package name and activity name, uh, to be focused on the mobile device. Let's suppose the initial screen of my app would be this one, right? So this would be the initial screen when I actually launch that messages app. So to get the activity name and package name of this particular screen, there is a command called as, let me open the command prompt and I'll just get that command. And I'll also give the link for all these commands so that it acts as a reference for you. I'll provide you the GitHub link maybe in the last session. I hope so. I need to get some time to actually segregate all this and upload them. But I'll do that. Okay. It's actually tough to remember, but so open the command prompt. So what are the ADB commands that you are aware of still now? Have we discussed any?
ADB devices.
Yep, ADB devices
With server ADB.
is one. Have we spoke about ADB kill server, ADB start server,
Yes, yes. Yeah,
ADB reconnect?
we have talked about it.
Yeah. So we use them whenever the server got hanged or the devices are not responding. In those cases, we will just use ADB kill server and start server. But apart from that, we have so many ADB commands. Out of them, we will discuss few important things. One such ADB command is to get the package name and activity name. We have a command that is ADB shell dumps is. So dumps is, this is something which is provided by the Android guys, okay, to execute and get the relevant things. Windows, and on this result we are applying find string /i m current focus. This gets us the details of the current, the one which is currently in focus on the mobile device. So when I execute this, it is getting me the currently focused details of the app. So in this, if you could see, it is getting some details. M current focus is equal to, so this is the package name, com.google.android.apps.messaging is the package name, and this is the activity name, com.google.android.apps.messaging.ui.conversation list activity is the activity name. So these are the package name and activity name of the currently focused app. Using this command too, we could get the package name and activity name without using apk info. Now let's use the same parameters and try to connect to this particular app, because we actually want to, what I mean to say is we actually want to get some elements, right? Some element properties to actually automate. So we need to get this XPath of this object or identifier for this object, and using that we will click on this, right? So I'll just create a new thing out of this. Go back here. Uh, okay, so now I'm gonna remove this app and I'm gonna use app package and app activity. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do now. So device name would be same, platform name is same, UI automator is same, but instead of app package and app activity, I mean instead of app, I'm gonna use app package and app activity. That's what I'm gonna do now. So go back here, get the relevant names, and everything is in camel case, which is important to understand. When we are using app package and app activity, what is the other important parameter that we have to use? Hello?
Reset,
Yeah, no reset is equal to
no
true is
reset.
something that we have to actually go ahead and use, which is very important, or else it actually resets your app altogether. So get this package name, I don't know, Control C, and paste it over here. Okay, this is my app package, and now I want to actually use app activity. So app activity would be, this is my app activity. Copy this and paste it over here. And the package activity name is this one. Okay, copy this activity name and paste it over here. And the only thing that left over is no reset is equal to true. As this is an emulator, it doesn't actually harms you, but anyways, it's always good to actually place that here. So no reset is equal to true is something which is our interest now. No reset. So copy this, and no reset would be true. Okay, now we got our capabilities ready with us. Now let's click on start session so that you should be able to see uh, this inspector getting connected to the app on the emulator. So this is how we use app package and app activity, and that's the command adb shell dumps is windows that will give all the results, all the app details on the particular windows, and then find str will give is finding us the focused app, and it's giving us the details. That's how you could actually get the package name and activity name. And now we got that app ready with us. It's time to actually get the parameters. Before that, let me create a separate class, and let me name it as I'm creating a separate class and naming it as mm, hybrid app automation. Okay, public static void main, and let me click on finish, and let me replace uh, let me get these things, hybrid app automation found. Now the important thing that you have to understand is, so do we need this browser name Chrome driver executable or not?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Why?
Because here, when we click the link, it will open the
Again.
browser.
Yeah, we are interacting with Chrome browser, right? Whenever you are interacting with any of the Chrome browsers, you have to pass these parameters. One is browser name and the other one is Chrome browser executable. So those two are important things when you are interacting with mobile platforms. Okay, and the next important thing is this one. Okay, so what is this? App package and app activity for the native app. So these four capabilities are important because here we are interacting both with the native apps as well as with the mobile apps. Okay, so let me just replace this app package and app activity name for a convenience so that we could directly launch from there. So I just need to replace the package name and activity name. Let me copy the package name from here and paste it over here. So this would be my package name, and what is my activity name? This is going to be my activity name. Control C, and this is my activity name. With this, we are good with the capabilities. We got all our capabilities ready. We added the capabilities required for the native app as well as for the mobile app. But UDID is something which we have to change, right? Instead of UDID, we have to pass device name, right? So let me get the device name and place it over here, because UDID is something we got, that ID is related to my real mobile device, when that needs to be replaced with the device name. So this gets all our capabilities ready, and now we could use them to actually automate this particular stuff. So let's create a static variable called as driver on top of it. Okay, all right, and this is just an exception, throws exception. exception. Okay, very fantastic. We are good with this desired capabilities. Next is identify the objects and go to the screen where we will redirect to the uh, like Chrome browser. So we need to click on this button, right? So go to your inspector, start your session, and get all the required objects, and then we will perform actions on those objects. Okay, so this is the object that is required, and what is the accessibility ID of it? More options. Copy this, go back to your Chrome browser. Here you would say driver dot find element apm by dot accessibility ID and place it over here dot click, right? This clicks that particular expand option. So once we click on this, so we go here, we will click on this, and here we have to click on help and feedback. Refresh the screen, find out help and feedback, and write an XPath for that. So I'll get this text, write an XPath, and try to click on it. Driver dot find element apm by, or we could just use by because we are just constructing XPath. By dot XPath double forward slash star at the rate text is equal to this one dot click, right? We clicked on help and feedback as well. Once we clicked on help and feedback, this is just a normal automation which every one of you are aware of. So we need to click on these three dots now. Okay, just refresh the screen, get the identifier for that three dots. So our interest is this one. This also has accessibility ID as more options. So I could go ahead and use the same syntax. Control V, and then we are moving down. After more options, what we have to click on, where is my app? After clicking on this, I have to click on privacy policy, right? Go to inspector, refresh this, and just highlight privacy policy, and this is what our interest is. Copy this text and go back to your Chrome browser and say driver dot find element by dot xpath double forward slash star at the rate text is equal to control V privacy policy dot click. So this will complete our flow, required flow, right? Let me just quickly run this and see if this is working fine or not. If this is working, then we will go to the actual context of our automation. The desired should not include both of app package and browser name. Okay, so this is something which is to be removed. We don't need this. Browser name is not actually needed because we are actually moving from native app to Chrome, right? So we are not actually directly interacting with the Chrome. We are redirecting from native app to Chrome browser. We need Chrome driver executable, but not the browser name. That's true. So I'm running it again. Run as Java application. Yes, this is the device got struck.
Is it because of script?
No, no, no. Run as Java application. Okay, we got it open. We clicked on help and feedback. Let me just add some sleep over here. Just not going back to the next screen immediately. Just 5 seconds. Right click, run as Java application. Privacy policy. Okay, now we are good. The flow is actually working. Now we need to switch the context from native app to the Chrome browser. Okay, here comes the actual methods, new methods that you have never seen, to what I mean to say, to get the required things, like to switch from one thing to other. Driver dot get context. Okay, so dot get context handles is a method which gets us all the context of the particular driver instance, which mean to say, whether it is native app instance or driver or web app instance, dot get context handles will return us all the contexts um, that are associated with the driver. So it returns us, what does get window handles returns us? What is the return type of get window handles?
Set of strings.
Data strings.
Set of strings, right? So let me just use control 1 and assigning statement to a new local variable. So what is the return type of get context handles?
Data
What is the
strings.
return type of? Yes, set of strings is the, so in web automation we use mm, get context handles, whereas in mobile automation we are going to use get context handles. Now let me just iterate through this and see what all will be there inside this. Let me just sys out this and you would be able to see. I'm doing this printout. So let's run as Java application and see how this actually works. So the expectation is it should return us uh, two parameters. One is for identifying or the identifier for the native app, and the other one is for the identifier for the web app, right? So look at the output. It returned us two things. One is native app, which is the identifier for the native app, and web view Chrome is the identifier for the Chrome browser. So we want to switch to this context, right? Switch to web view Chrome, right? Now the control is on web app. Now we want to switch that control to the web view Chrome. So how do we do that? The syntax for this, how do we switch the context in, I mean, switch the control to another window in web browser?
Switch to and then window.
Yeah, switch to window and then give the window handle, right? Which is
Yeah.
an string. Here
Yeah.
the syntax would be driver dot context, driver dot context, and you have to pass that particular name. What is the context? Which is WebView Chrome, right? Copy this. You could actually dynamically write this too, now how we have done in your Selenium. Just as you're already aware of that, I'm just giving a static value. So driver dot context WebView Chrome will switch the control from um, native app to the web app. So when we switch the control, we should be able to control this particular screen. We could get the text out of the screen and do all the things on this particular web app, which is the Chrome browser. So now I'll try to uh, get this text from this web app, which means like we switched our control from the native app to the web app. Okay, that's what I'm intended to do now, Rav. So how to actually identify the XPath for this? Are we gonna use XPath or something else? I mean, are we gonna use inspector or something else? I want to get the XPath for this particular text. So are we gonna use inspector to get the XPath for this, or is there something that we could use to get the XPath?
Uh,
Using
Selenium?
Chrome driver.
Chrome driver.
Chrome
Action.
page.
Um,
We
Using
discussed
the
something
Chrome
for
Inspector
web
device,
apps.
Yeah, in the Chrome browser. Yes.
like
Chrome.
Inspector
Chrome
device,
inspect devices.
device.
So once you open this particular tab, you would see all the connected devices. It just take 1 or 2 seconds, but you would see everything. Okay. In this, let's go to this inspect. I think there are multiple tabs. So that's the reason. So out of all this, what is our interest? We want to get the XPath of this particular thing. Okay. So let's use this class name. Control C, Control F, double forward slash star at the rate Control V. We have multiple things, which is, oh, this is the first one anyways. That's fine. It doesn't matter. When we use find elements, it just takes us the first element. So the first element is a required one. So I'm gonna use it. So go back here, driver dot find element by dot xpath, and we identified the xpath, which is this one. Remove this, remove this, dot get text. Okay. So this returns as the text for us. And I'll also want to convey you something which is important. Just this. So have you seen set text in Selenium? Have you discussed that? Send keys, set text.
Lisa Senkis not sure set text.
Okay.
Yeah, same.
Set text is again another method like send keys to actually set the text inside the text box. But that method is actually removed in the latest versions of Appium. So we just have only send keys. That is one of the changes we do have in the latest versions of Appium. I just want to tell you that. String Chrome browser underscore text is equal to. So let me print this out, Chrome browser text. Copy this, paste it here. So this should actually get the text in that Chrome browser. So that's all what we're gonna do now. Right click, run as Java application. This is not a new concept, only you need to be aware of these two methods. Instead of get window handles, you are getting using get context handles. Instead of driver.switch2.hand window, you are using driver.context. Those are the two changes, and rest all remains the same. Okay. We got some error. What is this? A new session, new session, new session, new session. Server selected new session could be created session not with version of Chrome driver only. This version of Chrome driver only supported Chrome version 110. If you remember, we replaced the existing Chrome driver executable with 110, right, when we are actually automating the real mobile device. And this error clearly says that this version of Chrome driver only supports Chrome version 110. So we just need to get this Chrome driver version updated. In my emulator, I have 69. So I need to get that 69, and I just need to replace that with existing one. Okay, let me download that Chrome browser executables. So we want to go ahead with 2.43, right? That's what we are interested to download now. So go to this URL, replace 46 with 43, download this zip file, show, show in folder, extract on, extract, replace the files in the destination. So I got the latest, the required Chrome driver version, and now do right click, run as Java application. Help and feedback, and now we expand that, click on privacy policy, we switch to Chrome browser, and we are trying to retrieve the text. So we got the text retrieved from the Chrome browser. This is how we switch from uh, the native app to the Chrome browser, and these are the methods that you have to remember. It's the same concept like get window handles switch to, but the methods are going to change over here. So with this, we are almost done with the Android part. So just to give a round off, we started with architecture, we understood the architecture, we have done the setup, and then we understood what are capabilities. We downloaded Appium inspector, used capabilities to connect to a particular mobile app, and then we used the same capabilities in the Selenium script. Using the capabilities that we used in inspector, using the same capabilities, we launched the app from the Selenium script, and then we added relevant jars. Java client Appium is one jar, and the other one is Selenium jars we have added. And then we have seen the basic operations like clicking on a checkbox, checking the status of the checkbox, enabling a button, enabling getting the text out of the button, sending the text into a text box, getting the text out of a text box. After doing all these basic operations, we have gone to advanced actions. We learned about advanced actions like swipe, drag and drop, tapping, long press, using touch actions, which is right now deprecated in the latest versions of Appium. But it is very important to understand them because you may need to support regressions, and out there most of the projects are not actually using W3 actions yet. Maybe you could see touch actions frequently when you actually get into the real project. And we have also seen hide keyboard, and also uh, and we have also seen and then with that we completed native apps, and then we switched on to the browsers. We tried automating web apps on the emulator using WebDriver, Chrome driver executable and browser name we have passed instead of app package and app activity. And we also understood the difference between using app package, and app activity. And we completed automating some sample stuff of web app on mobile apps, an emulator. And we also have seen how to actually inspect the elements on the web app using the Chrome browser. And we actually don't need to use Appium inspector to identify the elements on the Chrome browser. We have seen that. And then with that we completed on the emulator, and then we switched on to the real mobile devices, and there we started using app package and app activity, and no raise it as true. We have done automating some part of calculator and WhatsApp, We learned automating native apps on real mobile devices, on real Android device specifically, and then we also automated some sample stuff on Android web app on real mobile device. The only change the real mobile device to the emulator is emulator will be identified using device name, whereas real mobile device is identified using UDID, universal device ID, and we got that using ADB devices, right? And then we have learned like hiding a keyboard and all these things, and later to that we learned the replacement for touch actions, which is W3 actions. We completely understood that, and then from the W3 actions we moved to uh, we actually understood how to actually automate hybrid apps using context handles. And what else we have discussed? That's pretty much right. That's the
Sir, I
round
have
of
one more
we
question.
have learned. So sorry.
Sir, I have one more question.
Mhm.
So we just got the text from the web app. How to get back to the native app? Just closing the browser. That's it.
Just say no driver.context and then give the native app. And you could even close the current browser too. That's not a big problem because driver.close will just close the current instance where the control is. Driver.quit will close all the instances, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Uh, and we just have 15 minutes. Anyone have any questions?
Sir, I have a actually I'm getting an error while starting the session in IPM Inspector.
Mhm.
So can you help me with that? It says like socket hang up, something like that in
Yeah. So same
yeah.
here. It's Manpreet, same here. And I'm getting stuck with the Chrome inspector devices also. The link which you sent, that link is no such and working.
Okay, let's check them. So just to give an overview, in the next session, we will be talking about ADB devices. I mean ADB commands. We have around 9 to 10 commands that we will be learning, and we will see the setup on iOS. I mean how to create simulators and how to actually connect to a particular app on simulator using APM Inspector. With that, we will be concluding this APM automation sessions. So next session will be the last session, and that's the agenda for the next session. So if
So
you don't
next
have any
session will be
questions,
on Thursday, right, sir? Thursday
uh,
they have mentioned.
yeah, most probably Friday. I hope so, or else on Thursday. I hope it takes another 2 sessions, but we it's sufficient to have only one session to complete the rest of the stuff. So most probably it will be on Friday. If not, I'll keep you posted whether if it is on Thursday.
Okay.
So can you make one session of problem solving?
Yep, we could do that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So if you don't have any questions, you can drop off and let me know the name of one who have these issues, so they can just give you
Namrata.
the.
Hi, sir. I do have a clarification. I do have a clarification on a scrolling.
This conference will now be recorded.
Namrata, you got the access now. You could present the screen.
Sure, sir. Can you see my screen?
Just a quick question. You are able to see my screen till now, right? I see it is
Yeah, I
okay.
have my screen now. Can you see?
Got yes, yes, I'm able to.
Okay, so I have my, I'll start this again, my
Mm.
server, and my emulator is also on.
Mm-hmm.
So when I start this session, it is connecting, but again it's showing this error, sir.
Failed to create session unknown server's original error. Could not proxy command to the remote server. Socket hang up. Non-server side error occurred. Processing problem. Okay. Just again click on start session once. I just missed it.
Okay.
Socket hang.
Again, sir?
Yeah. You. This is a. I mean you never connected to emulator, right? So this is the first time you're actually. It's not successful before.
Actually, I did, sir, but to inspect, I'm starting this on Eclipse, right? So that time it's showing like that.
No, no. My intention is like earlier you were able to do it, and now you're
Yeah,
failing to do that.
yeah. Earlier, I connected with just two capabilities, just for
Okay.
the yeah.
Mhm.
No,
Open this
I was
emulator
getting
once.
the same issue. I I was getting the same issue, but now it's resolved because I restart my laptop.
Okay. Just click on. You clicked on it again, right?
Yeah.
Close that error and just go to your command prompt and do adb kill server.
Okay. DB kill server.
Adb kill hyphen server, not space. Don't give any space between kill and server. Kill hyphen server. Adb start server. Adb start hyphen server. Restart Appium again, and now try to connect to that. Yeah, you're good.
No, sir, it's showing the error again.
It's an
I think if the version is advanced version and the API demos, it's I mean it needs a lower version.
no, no,
Yeah,
no.
my Android is 8 only.
The problem is with device only. So just go to your command prompt again.
Okay.
Do adb reboot. Adb
ADB.
reboot. Yeah, click on enter.
Okay.
Just a second. Go to your device.
This one, sir?
Yeah, it gets restart now. I mean, it will restart now. Now do that. Start the APM and try to connect to this again.
Okay.
Mhm.
Got it, sir.
Okay. Who is next?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Who has
So here is
issues?
Manpreet.
Manpreet, okay. I'm making you present now.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can share your screen.
This one link, sir.
Uh, you cannot use this in Edge. You should use this in Chrome only.
Uh, okay, here Google Chrome.
Yes,
Okay, what to write?
that's too not correct. After Chrome, you should give hyphen.
Hyphen or colon?
Sorry, colon. Paste it at the URL point only earlier. I mean, open a new tab and paste this. Close it again. Yeah, paste it here and click on enter.
Oh, yeah, got it. Thank you so much, sir. And
Yeah.
one thing more, sir. Uh,
Mhm,
when I'm going to run this program,
mhm.
see, it's just appear one time and then don't know where it's gone. Everything just
Open
blink
your
one
console
time. Yes,
and
sir.
open your console. Expand your console. Double click on that console.
Hmm.
Double click on it and what's the error that you're getting? An unknown server side error. Wait a second. Scroll to the right. An unknown server side error occurred while processing the command. Original error could not proxy command to the remote server. Socket hang up. You also have to do the same.
Yeah,
Just
same
do
error.
ADB reboot.
Hmm.
Do ADB reboot,
Oh,
ADB kill server, and ADB start server. This should work.
okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Really
Anything
appreciate.
else
No, sir. Thank you.
from Harini?
Yes, sir, I'm getting a error when I'm trying to use the scroller method. It says it's invalid selector exception. I just want to figure it out.
Yeah. Share your screen, please.
Yeah, this is the error I'm getting, sir. I'm not able to
Okay.
scroll
Okay.
actually.
But
You want
Android
me to
UI.
run?
No, no, no. Just show me the code. The complete code. Just minimize the left side part. Give a forward slash there.
Where,
If the
sir?
text is there, right? New scroll into view. Text is there, right? Text a
Yeah,
single quote. Yeah, there give one backward slash and no, no, not there. Before double quotes.
before the. You mean here?
No, no, there is double quote, right? You gave plus and then double quotes.
Yeah, here.
Yeah, there.
Hmm.
Yeah, before that.
Before even double quotes. Here.
Yeah, before double quotes, give forward slash, and also
Mm.
after double quote, give a forward slash.
That's it.
You're actually concatenating it, right?
Okay.
You're concatenating that with this option. Okay, do one thing. Uh,
Hmm.
inside the text. Uh, j- how do I put it? Could you post that in the chart window? I'll just quickly edit
Yeah.
this and give it back to you.
Yes.
Can you use this? Yeah, you could run off. Okay. Hello.
It's working. I'm sorry I was on mute.
Okay. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions?
I have one request. Would you please push your code to GitHub repository? We can have
Yeah,
access.
I would do that. I would do that sometime later today, and I'll share the
Yeah,
link.
sure. Thank you.
Anything else?